Okay, recording has started. Tommy Jewell.
Present.
Mr. Stewart.
Here, ma'am.
Mr. Wismer.
Here.
Diane Layden.
Excused absence. She notified me that she's got some caregiving responsibilities that conflict.
Mr. Montoya.
I haven't heard from David. I know last meeting he said he was going to probably have to resign. I think he's become official with.
Because he's a big wig right now.
Yeah, county official or something.
I know,
like that, right?
which is very exciting.
I'll follow up with him.
Okay.
Joseph Lopez.
Present.
Debbie Strong.
Here.
Debbie Dodge is excused. She's out of the country. And Elena.
Here.
That would be everybody, sir.
Okay, that concludes the roll call. I'll note that we have a quorum and we'll proceed with business. Item 3 on our agenda is the consent agenda. It regards the approval of minutes for the July 14 meeting. Is there a motion?
I motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Is there a second? I'll second. Been moved and properly seconded that the minutes of the previous meeting be accepted. Any discussion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That was an aye, I heard? No,
Yes.
No opposition, okay. The minutes are unanimously approved. I think we had some, regarding item 4, public comment. Didn't we have some people signed up to speak?
We had one person sign up to speak. The
Are they
rest
on?
were just comments, and I do have somebody on by the number of 468. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay,
As the person that's on, could you let us
Can
know
they
what
speak?
you're here for?
can they speak?
Yes.
Yes, I'm just here as a guest, but are you guys aware that there are several people waiting on the teams and that no one's able to get in?
I don't have anybody
There's a
showing.
Teams link.
I don't have anybody showing on waiting in the lobby.
Is there any way that you can communicate with these people? I'm not sure what we need to do. We certainly don't want to leave. We don't want to exclude anybody.
This happened last time, and it's really a bummer because there's a Teams link on your guys' website that says that's how you join the meeting, and then you go. I mean, the meeting is open, but you guys aren't streaming.
Oh.
Well, I'll ask Steph, thank you for alerting us to that, and I'll ask Danette and Esteban to check into that, please.
Looking at it right now, sir.
Okay, and so let me do this. We'll reverse the order with the permission of the board. We'll reverse the order. We are fortunate to have representatives of the sheriff's office, and so again, with the permission of the board, I'll postpone item 4 and skip to item 5 and look to our sheriff's representatives for their comments. Under Sheriff Harino or Williamson?
I can give an update on the
Major
camera
Anderson?
system. Sure.
We'd love to hear it.
So we have been meeting with Axon Enterprises very regularly. We've been meeting as far as our infrastructure is concerned and making sure that we're going to accommodate all the technology that we're going to acquire through the contract. And our training should begin for the body-worn camera deployment the first week of October. So we should be fully deployed the first week of October with body cameras. We have received all of...
Did you say the training starts at that point?
Yeah, the training and the deployment will happen simultaneously.
Okay.
So as soon as they're issued and they're trained, then they'll be out working with them.
And what does the training consist of? Is that a long process? Or?
No, I think it'll take about 4 hours in a day
Okay.
for each deputy to be able to attend that. It shows them how to use the camera itself, the physical hardware, and it'll show them how to use the software, how to retrieve video, how to review it, how to tag it as far as evidence is concerned. We'll also be deploying with the new Taser 10 that we had spoken about previously. Those are actually in our physical custody now, and we're setting up training for that, and that should take place mid-September. So by the time we are done with our training in October, we will be active with our fleet camera system, our new taser less lethal, and our body worn camera. And that should all be concluded right around the middle of October. I would say that we should be good.
Great.
Good question. You mentioned kind of the use of the
And
camera.
it's Elena Giacchi,
Yeah, oh, sorry.
if the minutes need to reflect that.
Yes, ma'am.
Would be I hear you talk about the kind of all of the issues of training around the camera, but will they also be trained on new policies, procedures, and protocols? as
Yes,
well?
ma'am.
Okay.
That's in the work for review right now.
Okay.
And then they'll also be given that as well if there's any changes. Mostly the changes are the system itself.
Okay,
We haven't addressed any policy adjustments as of yet, but that is currently under review.
and when do you anticipate that will be finished or completed as far as the review goes?
We haven't scheduled our first meeting. I anticipate it maybe taking 1 or 2 meetings with our policy review
Okay,
board, our committee, and I believe we're looking at scheduling that sometime mid-September.
and will at that time we have an opportunity to kind of express like certain things we've
Sure.
mentioned about the, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, if you have any language or issues or concerns that you're aware of now, if you want to send those
Okay.
to the sheriff, and then we can review those when we're discussing in our committee.
Okay, that'd be great, because they have some promising practices as far as body cameras for victims and things like that, so I can send those forward.
Sure, yeah, send those over to the sheriff and then we'll discuss them in our committee.
Okay, you got it,
Okay,
thank you.
other questions for the major? What am I hearing?
If anybody has their speaker or mic on, please turn it off. Or not.
Do we have represented in those 21?
In this current academy class. I don't have the exact numbers of that, but I can get that to you.
Oh, that would be wonderful, thank you.
And again, that was Elena Giacchi.
Yeah, just keep on putting my name on there. Yeah, her again.
All right. Further questions? Thank you, Under Sheriff Williamson. Under Sheriff Areno, is there anything else?
The only thing I can think of is we're currently working on try to find the best way to purchase our secondary helicopter. We did get one of the companies that actually flew here, and we had the opportunity to go and visit with them and see that helicopter. Now, in the last 4 to 5 days, we received another offer from another company, another helicopter that they're wanting to offer it to us. So hopefully but that one is moving kind of fast. It's roughly the same price as the other one. The difference is safety-wise, this is a far better helicopter than the first one we visited. And the price that they're giving us is is almost a steal for that helicopter at regular price. So we have a couple of meetings scheduled, hopefully one today and maybe next one on Monday. They're flying that helicopter to our hangar from Houston before it's on its way to Canada, where it's being taken for some training. So hopefully we'll be able to put everybody together on the same page, see if we can move forward with that.
Safety, of course, is important. And, well, it's almost a steal. We're glad you're not stealing it. Sounds like a win-win. Wasn't there some discussion about some cooperative arrangement with APD and their use of helicopters? And am I mistaken in that? Has there been any?
No, you're not mistaken. So we've always had a relationship with APD where we cover when one is flying, the other one is not, and vice versa. So we can actually expand the coverage for air support. The difference with this helicopter that I'm speaking about, it's completely separate to the mission that APD has. APD doesn't do search and rescue. The only other agency in the state that does search and rescue is state police. By state statute, that's their responsibility. But obviously one helicopter in the entire state is not enough. They're in the process of training. It takes roughly between 3 to 5 years for an air unit with a new helicopter to be completely capable to perform search and rescue missions. We are, as far as training goes, we were already doing it. So if we were to purchase this new helicopter, we'll just have to train how to do it in this new helicopter because it's a completely different platform. But as far as getting to a point where we can actually perform search and rescue missions, we're the closest one of all the agencies. So as far as the cooperation with APD, we've always had that. There's no point of having 2 helicopters flying at the same time. So it will just be a matter of trying to adjust the shift a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for the patrol aspect of it, which if all works.
So does that mean they do like East Mountain when they're in the air?
They don't.
They don't at all?
No.
Okay.
They patrol this side of the mountain.
Okay.
There is a little bit of capabilities issues with the helicopter that they have, which is similar to the A-Star that we have for patrol.
Okay.
Our A-Star helicopter cannot get up to the top of the mountain. So that's why it's for patrol purposes only. Usually when we have to go to the side of the mountains.
What were they using when they did the rescue from the tram? Is that the same helicopter?
Metro 2.
Metro 2?
We use Metro 1 for the tram. Yeah. We use Metro 1, but it was yes.
You were around then, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
It was a different type of mission because it wasn't a hoisting mission. Okay. So for us to do hoisting and what is regularly known as search and rescue, you have to hoist people down through the cable. You don't just have to get to the top of the mountain, you have to get to the top of the mountain and up so you can actually hoist somebody down. Metro 1 does not have the capability to hoist anybody. We can call a short haul that we can actually place people in different locations, but for search and rescue purposes, you need a bigger helicopter. State Police has one that has somewhat of a capability to do it, but again, they're years away from actually accomplishing that. So
33 counties, right, in New Mexico. Are we the only one with a helicopter?
We're the only ones with the training to do search and rescue. Okay. We don't have the helicopter for it because that was Metro 2. Right. But yeah, believe it or not, even a state police with one helicopter, there's no way that you can cover it, which is why we're a state asset when it comes to search and rescue. So we can fly anywhere in the state and perform search and rescue as long as it goes through state police, because we're basically tasked with being a search and rescue asset for the entire state. Mm-hmm. That this state should have way more helicopters, absolutely, when it comes to search and rescue. Mm-hmm. The only other asset that is being used for years is the National Guard. The problem with the National Guard is every time they get a new helicopter, they have to retrain on that helicopter, And last time that they deployed all of their search and rescue helicopters to the Middle East, they're not bringing those back. So they're getting new ones and they have to start training all over again. And that's gonna be a long process.
Vice Chair has her hand.
Vice Chair Strongman.
I may have missed this if you said it, and I'm sorry if that's the case. The audio is a little sketchy, but I just wondered if the funding for a second helicopter is in place.
There is not. There's
not.
a portion of it, yes. But we're talking that any of these helicopters, on a low end, we're talking about $6 to $7 million. And I believe all we have now is 4.9.
And is there
All
a
right,
request
thank
to
you.
the New Mexico legislation to get some additional funds?
That's submitted every year for the capital outlay. We did submit a request. We got, I believe, $2.1 million this year. And then we're gonna keep asking until we have enough money to purchase one. It's just that they don't come across that often. So we kind of
And
have to
this-
get creative.
This acquisition is imminent, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it, Ms. Strongman?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Questions from other board members? Well, thank you. And thank you all for those name tags, you know, right across from me. I can't screw that up like I could. Diane Dosal, is there any report from you?
I sent an email in last week about our updates on the revision of our policy.
Okay.
And then we had community input. So we had basically LPCCs, LCSWs, people from the community, your own board members take a look at it for review. So that's already been done. Our next step is to start with our law enforcement assisted diversion policy, to update that, just because there's been some changes within the process flow. And I think that was the majority of it. We're in the process of hiring 3 forensic case managers to help with longer term care for social workers to help in addition to. And so that's in the process right now, but that is funded. And so that's funded for the next 3 years. But that is something that is still kind of ongoing because we have to do our interviews. And then I think I had sent, our partnership with Care Campus is we're advocating, encouraging the deputies to utilize their services there. So we've already provided them the training. We have a strong partnership with the interim director, Jessica Jaramillo, and her staff, and ensuring that we utilize their services for their living room model and detox and the observation and assessment unit. So those are the things that we've been working on so far.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Questions, comments from the board?
Oh, we do have a new chaplain that's gonna be starting on Monday. And so we haven't had one for a while, so he'll be helping out with support in the field, the deputies, also collaboration, and then helping me to spearhead our peer support program for the deputies. And yeah.
Is chaplain a paid position? Is that?
It is. It will be a
Okay.
full-time position.
Okay.
And the name of the person is?
Peter Hinojos. And so we have him set up to meet with BCFD to work in conjunction with them with their peer support and chaplain services as well.
Okay. We thank you. Unless that prompts other questions, we'll.
Judge, I do have a question for our uniform partnership.
Oh, sure.
There's been a lot of discussion about retail securities. I think the sheriff talked about it last time, and APD and BCSO are working together. And question I have, is there an association of retail security directors here in Bernalillo County you can talk to?
There is an association of retailers that is through the Chamber of Commerce. So there is the one for the Chamber of Commerce, and then there's another one from different businesses, and the name is escaping me now. We have met with both. Our organized retail
Let
crime.
me just, so that I'm clear, your question is about retail security,
Right.
and you're talking about retail, period.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in one of these meetings, they do have everybody from their loss prevention unit where all the security are actually tied up into the businesses. So they do have those meetings, I believe, every other month. Our organized retail unit, sergeant and their lieutenant attend those meetings. We have actually attended some of those meetings too. So the information that is provided to us it comes from them. They work with them when they do these operations at Coronado Mall or Cottonwood Mall or Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever retailer might be. They actually work with their security teams and to implement their plans. So we don't just go into blind. They're very well thought out process that comes with information from them. The other meeting that has to do with the Albuquerque Chamber of Commerce or the Greater Albuquerque Chamber, those are like the business owners. But the other one is with the actually loss prevention. For example, the loss prevention director for the entire country from Walmart, he comes to those meetings too. So he gives them information about that. The director nationwide for Lowe's comes to those meetings and tells them, this is what we're seeing. These are the challenges that our security team is seeing. This is what loss prevention, which everybody security-wise at the retailers falls under loss prevention. That's when they give them all the information. But yeah, we do meet with them on a big setting. But as far as the contact, those are on a weekly basis with our people.
Okay, so it's my impression that there's an inconsistent approach to retail crime amongst these retailers. Texas, where I come from, obviously it's different. The Walmart's there, zero tolerance. You shoplift, you're gonna go to jail. I don't detect that here. I don't go to Walmart a lot here, but the stores I go to with my bride here, you know, I see shoplifting going all the time, and I see them walking out the door. And, you know, is there any way that y'all can influence them?
I think that even last time, so we had a business roundtable about 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. And the sheriff specifically spoke to the business owners that they basically need to be a little bit more proactive on their security at their locations. And you can even see that difference between the Walmart in Albuquerque and the Walmart in Edgewood, where I live. It's completely different. I don't know if it's an inconsistency from the company as much as there's an inconsistency on legislation. That's what I think the difference might be. Because if you walk into a Walmart here, the setup of a Walmart here is almost the same as the setup of a Walmart anywhere in the country. It's just that, as you say, maybe the way that the laws are applied in another place are different than here. So I think that that's where the inconsistency comes. Because a lot of these multinational companies, they have, and I know this by experience because my wife worked for a multinational company. The policies that they have as far as retail crime, they're the same anywhere in the country. It's just that in some places, the laws are a little bit more strict when it comes to that.
Okay, I think, you know, one closing comment here, were I one of your deputies, you know, and seeing these people just get away with it, it'd be very frustrating for me. You know, I see my job is to enforce the law, and service the community, and these yahoos, you know, walk away.
Yeah, and then if you see it on our areas of responsibility, being the unincorporated areas, you don't really see the same level that you see in other places.
Okay.
I'm not sure I followed that. I suspect that's gonna bleed over into some of the other discussion that's on our agenda though, so.
And I apologize for
The name of the group that we participate with is the Albuquerque Retail Assets Protection Association,
Yeah.
ARAPA.
And I see Vice Chair Strongen has a hand up again. We're not hearing you, Debbie.
She has her mute on.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This goes back to what Diane Dosal was talking about. I just wanted to find out with the chaplain, is that part of the behavioral health division, or is the chaplain for this, the BCSO personnel?
So they'll cross over into each other. He'll be working under, like, with behavioral health, but he will report to Under Sheriff Daniel, correct?
Yes.
Okay, is the chaplain, I don't know, a mental health professional, or is that part of a chaplain's training? I'm just curious what the role is with behavioral health of a chaplain.
Yes, so he does have that ministry experience and licensure. He also works with the military personnel and is in the military. And he has behavioral health experience. I don't know to what level and degree, but we did interview quite a few of them a few months back.
Okay, great, thank you.
You bet.
All right, thanks. Anything else regarding Sheriff's Office comment? I think what we'll do, with the permission of the board, I think, obviously we really appreciate the Sheriff's Office being represented in the way that it is. But perhaps if we fold some of these other topics in and then let public comment follow that, and then, we can take up other areas. So if that's all right with everybody, why don't we just go ahead and see if there's any information that the under sheriff or major can lend to some of these other agenda items, and then revisit the others. And you all can certainly help me with this. Is that all right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. I think we have a consensus on that. So the item 6 regards the traffic stop / taser incident. And I think that there, if I'm correct, all I've had is the benefit of news that there had been discipline perhaps meted out by the sheriff, and the response by this particular deputy was to retire. Is that correct?
Correct. So the findings of that investigation, the sheriff moved to terminate the individual from employment with the sheriff's office. He retired in lieu of termination. So basically, he retired voluntarily prior to the discipline being handed out.
Okay, and effectively that ends it on the sheriff's side of this, right? Okay. All right, and so as a board, are there further questions, or Debbie Strongman's got a hand up?
Yes, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at this. I've only skimmed it, but the board has received a comment from the officer involved that's fairly lengthy. I'm not,
I'm being told, Debbie, that the board has not seen that. I emailed it. Oh, you emailed it?
Which one? Oh, no, I didn't see that.
So there was 4 comments that were emailed to all of you, and
One of them regards the,
Thank you.
and then
Looks
of
like
course
the
for the
case.
sheriffs. So
I
yours
only
will-
received it about 20 minutes before the meeting started, so I haven't had.
Sorry.
All right.
That's
No,
what it came in,
I mean,
though.
it's not a critique, but I don't think, I haven't had a chance to really review it, so I don't know that it's fair to, publicize it or discuss it until everyone has had a chance to look at it.
and let me suggest this, Madam Vice Chair. The purpose of me asking if they've concluded whatever activity, I think places it appropriately before us. And so there in any advice, recommendations, or otherwise that this board might make, I think would come in the aftermath of that, so that there's not urgency in us doing that. So it's totally, I think, appropriate for us to postpone any commentary until we've had an adequate opportunity to review it and see if there's something that we want to then comment on, make recommendations on, notify other, like the commission about. So if yes.
I also just want to express a concern, as an attorney, the officer is, or I guess former officer, but he's disputing a lot of the sheriff's determination. And I'm not sure that he has sent this after, with review by his counsel if he wanted to. So, I just want to put that concern out there as well, that he is disputing. Yeah.
I can answer that. Every step of this process has been reviewed by legal counsel who's sitting at the table here with us.
On behalf of the sheriff.
On behalf of the sheriff, correct.
Right.
Not necessarily legal counsel for this deputy who chose, as we understand, to retire.
Right. I just have a concern to publicize this, although he seemed to want it public. Obviously, he sent it to us, but I just do have that concern for his rights.
Thank you, Ms. Giacchi.
As far as delaying kind of the conversation, I just want to make sure that nobody that has already signed in was wanting to comment on that, because.
Comment on this?
Well, comment on just kind of the general idea of what we're talking about with this particular sheriff's officer. And see if they, if because we have open public comment. Do you know if we have anybody?
Oh, okay, so you're talking about the public comment.
Right.
And so we have postponed in our agenda public comment until later in the agenda.
Okay,
So there will be the opportunity.
We're not postponing it to another day, we're just postponing it to another time.
And let me make sure that I'm clear. Certainly, we'll take comment on it. As has been the case for the last few meetings, we have maintained this on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
We are now aware that the sheriff's office has concluded its investigation and discipline with respect to it. And so the reason we had delayed is that process had not finished. Mm-hmm. That process is now finished. Yeah. It is fair grist for comment and recommendation by us and public comment as well.
Good.
And certainly we would benefit if we're going to say anything by gathering public comment on it. So anyway, no, we're not going to stop the public from commenting on anything, but it is not necessary for us to instantly digest this comment by the officer and then do anything, okay? So it will remain on agendas until we're ready to take it up. Okay, is that clear? All right.
Yes, thank you.
So that was just submitted today at 11:23? Okay, all right. All right, so is there anything further with respect to item 6, the traffic stop taser incident? If there's not, I will remain on the agenda for us until we've had an opportunity to digest whatever public comment there is, including this from this retired officer. The other item is the discussion of Sheriff Allen's use of force in detaining a shoplifting suspect at Dick's Sporting Goods in Albuquerque. And we're fortunate that Jim Stewart, who has experience in this area, has been kind of gathering some of the information. And I will turn to him to lead whatever discussion we need to have at this time.
Thanks, Judge. I appreciate that. Board members, I received this issue via my the Commissioner, Walt Benson for District 4. He reached out to me and said, would it be all right if one of his constituents talked to me? And I said, of course. So we gave her my phone number. I didn't hear from her for several days, but I also had her email, so I fired off an email to her. And I got an email back from her, which I forwarded to all the board members to take a look at, her considerations. And in the interim, I've talked to Sheriff Allen. He called me, and in response to an email that I sent him requesting his input, and then he's provided me with a witness statement that he prepared for the arresting deputy at Dix, and I forwarded that to all the board members also. So we have the sheriff's version, and we have the complainant or the constituent's version of what she saw. And
when you say the constituent's version, was she also a witness to the action?
no, sir, she saw it in the media.
Okay.
I guess Facebook and various other sundry places. So she gave me a pretty lengthy email that I've sent to y'all, along with a photograph at a very isolated moment in the incident. So last night and yesterday, I was going through the SO policies, and I pulled out the use of force and forwarded that to you. One of the things I didn't see under Sheriff, and maybe you could help me here, is a specific policy that talks about enforcement when you're off duty. Is there?
And let me just stop you there.
Yes.
And that. Is the sheriff ever off duty?
Well, Judge,
What does that mean? I mean, as a judge, I know I had people coming to my house at midnight and wanting to sign warrants.
I think the way that's generally interpreted for law enforcement is that if you're not at your duty assignment, then you're off duty. Now, I never, like you, I never considered myself to be off duty. I was always armed, and, you know, I was always prepared to intercede. But typically there's a policy that says under certain circumstances, or what circumstances in which that's appropriate. You know, if you're out with your wife and kids, do you want to get into an enforcement situation? Probably not. And most of those policies say just be a professional, excellent witness if you encounter something. Don't involve yourself. And as I was, and I looked through a lot of policies.
Let me interrupt again as you're directing this to Under Sheriff Williamson. Do the policies pertain to the sheriff or just the employees of the sheriff?
Judge, that is a darn good question. Yes, they do. But there's mechanisms in there for like a use of force report, and it's reviewed by your supervisor at the chain of command to ensure that you appropriately utilized force. Well, who does that for the sheriff? Does he call in an undersheriff, say, come here, take a look at this, tell me if I did right or wrong? But he can't chop on it. He can't sign off on it. The sheriff does that. So it's a little different for the sheriff. Now, if this guy goes out and does something, obviously he's got somebody over him that would interpret what he did and deal with it appropriately. So, but I've kind of gone off on a tangent here.
And I probably sent you this.
No, sir. So the board members have been provided with both versions in written form. They've been provided with the policy itself that addresses the use of force.
Right.
But I would recommend, or I'd request, Judge, that we defer the actual in-depth discussion of this until our September meeting when Sheriff Allen could be here.
Sure.
So in the meanwhile, us board members could discuss, I guess, without getting in trouble with Daniel, different thoughts on how the policy should be interpreted.
Yeah, and I know, and it's certainly not appropriate to receive our legal advice in public meeting, but I know a question went to Daniel regarding state law versus policy, I guess.
You are correct. There is no current state law prohibiting the use of the chokehold that I could find this morning. There was a movement in 2021 to try and, I think it was SB 227, that attempted to do that in other limits on law enforcement. It was in the height of the George Floyd incident. It did not pass. So currently it's department to department specific, and the PRG does it for them. State police has their own, and BCSO has its own policies.
Right, they do, absolutely.
So policy specific.
So under any circumstance, we're not discussing a violation of law?
No, sir.
Okay.
So there is no law that prohibits it currently in the state of New Mexico for a chokehold?
No, the closest you could think of was no, there's no law saying that a chokehold is illegal. That's the simple answer. There was the law enforcement officer that went to trial in Las Cruces for the use of the chokehold, but that was really for the action of committing, well, one, it was dismissed, just to be clear. But that was allegedly the act of using force that resulted in death. So that's more like a homicide standard versus a law that says you can't use the chokehold.
But Elena, I would ask you to keep in mind that, let's say we get into a tussle, and I'm trying to subdue him. There's the possibility that my arm's going to go around his neck. I take him to the ground and I'm holding him while I'm waiting for him to calm down or for someone to come along and help me. Now, if I do a carotid restraint where I'm blocking off the blood flow to the brain, well, he's going to go to sleep at some point. If I'm obstructing his ability to breathe, maybe go to sleep, maybe just check out. So, there's different kinds of chokeholds, and when people use that term, it's kind of, they use it universally, and it's not a universal term. There's different sorts of things that you could do. And if you're going to allow me to shoot this guy because I fear for my life, why couldn't I put a chokehold on him?
So we're going to discuss that at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And those are the little nuances that I would ask you to keep in mind as you study the use of force policy, and then when we have all the information in front of you, when you've had the chance to talk to Sheriff Allen, then we can make our decision and our discussion.
Judge, and I think it goes back to your point, is the sheriff ever truly off duty? For a sheriff's deputy who works in the community on a daily basis, they're not as public of a figure. The sheriff is the face of the department, the face of law enforcement for the county. So is he ever really off duty? I think my answer to that would be no.
Okay. Well, I mean, we now have several pieces of information, but perhaps not all the information that we should know. So I'm going to entreat my colleagues to use discretion in how this gets discussed. We're almost in that fact-finding role that a jury would be in.
Correct.
In looking at this. So we don't want to give public comment about it until we've given an opportunity to know the facts. I think we've got some of the surrounding stuff. I don't know that we know everything we need to know.
And I agree. I think it would be unfair for us without the sheriff being here, because he was the one involved. He was there. Nobody sitting at this table was there and has. And
perhaps it's even unfair to say we're in a fact-finding role, because all we do is make recommendations, friends. We're not looking to discipline the sheriff, but the public definitely has interest in this. And so in fairness to our public, I think it needs to be given air. So Vice Chair has her hand up. Debbie.
I just wanted to agree with what you said, Judge Jewell, and that's all I wanted to say about it. I think that deferring the substance of this discussion makes sense until the sheriff can attend the meeting next month. And I think that's the best way to approach this, and also to just reiterate that the reason this is being brought up is because it was brought up by a member of the public to the board. It's not something the board has raised just on its own initiative. So we are fulfilling our function of hopefully helping communication between the public and the sheriff's office in raising this at this board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So is there any further discussion by board members with respect to this agenda item?
We're putting it off until September. Right?
We're definitely going to leave it on the agenda for September.
Okay.
And we have on the agenda what we're going to do about our September meeting. So.
Yep.
Now, having said that, certainly, I think we have members of the public who have interest in giving comment, I would think, on that, as well as the past subject and perhaps others. So I'm certainly not saying that we will not receive public comment at this or any other meeting on that. But is there anything else from a board member about this agenda item? All right, so let me resume the chair, if I ever really relinquished it. And thank you, Board Member Stewart, for your leadership in this area. We value your experience, obviously. I, as I have done in past meetings, think that is all that we would require you all to give us information for at this point. You're certainly welcome to stay. We certainly value your participation, and but we know that you have other duties. If you need to take off, do it with our blessing, please.
If I might be able to go back to Ms. Giacchi's question earlier about the makeup of the academy. There are 12 Hispanic, 4 Caucasian, 1 African American, and 1 Native American, 16 men and 2 women in the current full-time academy.
Thank you.
So you've taken note of those demographics? All right, good deal. Thank you for that. Anything else under Sheriff Williamson or Major Anderson?
No, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you all, and we will see you on the September 15th meeting.
Yeah, you might want to stay around. I don't know what we're doing about that one. We'll figure it out though, and you'll have plenty of notice. Diane, are you going to stay or are you out?
They're my right.
Oh.
Oh, man.
You all be careful out there.
What's that?
The sheriff needs to do this use.
So there's enough that we can pass these out.
Exactly, yeah.
Great.
So I have to be So they're an actual resource for the district.
And I will.
Okay.
Especially after hours when things are closed.
It may have already
Okay.
been done.
Thank you.
And then Debbie and Diane might have meeting too, so we go.
Okay.
However you want. Yeah, okay, thank you.
And with the board's permission, we'll revert to the order of the day. And so we will go back and revisit item 4,
I made my transition.
public comment. And Danette, if there are members of the public who are waiting to address the SOARB, we can now start that process.
We have a Kate Collins, and then we have KOB is on, and then we had Universal, but they're gone. So, Ms. Collins, do you have anything you'd like to say or add?
Ms. Collins, you're muted. There you go.
I am good, thank you. I noted earlier when I was on the phone, but just a reminder that the link is broken and no one was able to log on last time either. So definitely, hopefully we can get that.
Did we get that taken care of? Are they able to log in now?
We're good now, yes. We had to create a new
Okay.
link, so.
Well, thank you so much for prompting us to that. And please, if you discover other deficiencies, let us know, because we're truly here about the public. And so we don't want that to be a barrier. But I know that you probably have some other things you want to discuss, so please go ahead. We have rules in place that limit commentary to 2 minutes. So if you would, we'll start your 2 minutes when you're ready.
I was just here to listen today, but thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. I think Channel 4 KLB, at least their camera crew just left. Was there somebody else on? Oh, okay.
Someone's on.
They may just be monitoring as well. Is there somebody from KLB 4 that wishes to address the board? I think they're just listening as well.
They're likely recording it for
Yeah.
the reporter.
I will, maybe I'll use this opportunity to say that with the assistance of Esteban, we were able to bring some publicity to this meeting, that the items that we've just gone through, the traffic stop and taser incident, as well as the sheriff's shoplifter stop incident, received a lot of publicity. And I gave an interview yesterday, the gist of which was to invite public comment today on those two and other issues.
Super.
So if you all saw me on TV, it wasn't self-aggrandizement. It was me doing my job for you all.
Hey, Judge, would you send out or get Danette to send out something that's, because I don't typically watch TV news.
Oh, okay.
I sure like to watch it.
Yeah, and I think Vice Chair Strong sent that. Did you send it to everybody, Debbie?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I don't know if you're,
I guess
So
usually it's on YouTube also, right? Yeah, okay.
So that I think is a narrative of the news story that went out. There may be a link that you can see the news story.
I would request that when you do something like that, and like you said, I don't watch a lot of TV either. And so maybe if we could get a text message, because I got a phone call saying, so what is all of this about?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well,
about, I mean, I was like, I didn't feel like the smartest moment of my life. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they said, this is how it got interpreted, some judge made a comment about some
Idiot
judge. So, but I mean, it
That's
was.
retired.
Yeah.
Judicial standards.
But just so that maybe we have a heads up that it's either, so that if someone asks us questions, we can say, oh, this is about, and if you'd like to make public comment or whatever.
To the extent that we can do that, that's great. I think yesterday's interview, what did I have in terms of notice on
Yeah,
this?
no, not long.
The email came in, I sent it to Floyd, I'm talking, we were moving like in seconds, and it did come in very last minute and kind of had to.
So
Well,
how
that
would
way-
you like us to handle that then? Just refer everything back to either one of you? Or, I mean, if there's a legitimate question or what's going on, and I'm part of this group and I don't have a clue, how would you like
Well,
that string to go back to you
Let
directly?
me, and it may be after the fact, but I don't see any reason why a statement can't come from staff that, Judge Jewell gave an interview.
Mhm,
Here
yeah.
it is.
Absolutely.
That would be
What
great.
I can do is, yeah, I mean, and Debbie did send that out. This was just on last night at 10.
Right.
So it's the next day now at 1 PM. But I can take it upon myself to, the moment I see that link, to send it to the group.
That would be great.
And Debbie did do that today. It is a great story. It's nearly 4 minutes, which is a long
lot.
time in local
And
news.
let me just thank my colleagues for vesting me with the authority to do that. You all may not be aware even that you've given me that authority in our procedural policies to be the spokesperson for you. Because opportunities like that will come up and we want to be in a position to take advantage of them. And obviously there's a lot of public buzz around certain things. And so we need to be in a position to solicit that input and filter it later. It's not always going to be, appropriate, the input that we get, but we may not get the appropriate input, but for those opportunities. So anyway,
Miss.
Ms. Strongen again, yes.
I think we got at least one written comment, and I'm not sure, did we get two on the subject of the takedown at the sporting goods store? And how do we handle those? Do we read those into the record? Do we just file them? Do we keep it over to the next meeting when we're gonna be discussing this issue again? I wasn't sure what we do with that.
Danette, you have a suggestion?
Well, so this goes through the public county website. It's archived and you can go back years and look at what people comments. Off to the side, if it says comment, it's just that, it's a comment that's coming to the board. If it says that they want to sign up for speaking, then it'll say that they want to speak. So it's kind of on your thing. So this is something that comes through the county. website that's set up, and then it's forwarded to me. So there are comments, and you can choose what you want to do. You can.
You kind of went through this, Danette, but
Mhm.
explain, I get first name, last name, topic. Then it says remote and I see false. What does that mean?
You know, the false, I don't know why they have that in there, but it has to do just if they're voting or if they want to come in. So what they're saying is they're signing up for a comment only. They don't want to come in and speak or anything.
And where is that place where they could say that they want to speak?
It's on
So
our
this-
agenda, every agenda that we have it, it's down at the bottom.
Right, but I mean on this,
It comes into the public speakers or speakers on the county website for
so
any
how do I
board.
sign up? So all I see is preference, sign up and comment.
Well, you have to go into the website and you have to go in and sign in, and then a
Okay.
form will pop up and you fill out that whole form of what you want to do.
So where it says preference, sign up, and I say I want to do a comment, somewhere, if I went on here, I would know exactly how to sign up for a public comment.
Yes.
Stephen, can you pull that up? Can you
Pretty
pull that up and?
fairly
I can't
easy.
put it up on the screen,
Can you?
but that,
I have to use sharing, yeah. So you want to share it?
This is one of those deals, I guess I'm a visual learner, because we can have this discussion and I still may not know. And there are several people of my generation who may not be able to navigate.
You're just
My
a kid,
husband
what are you
would be
talking
one of
about?
those. He just says, I didn't do anything,
We don't
he
want to
did it by
disrupt
himself.
what you have there.
Just go to the website. Oh, you're gonna share Esteban?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go there. Oh, he has to actually click to request for share.
Yeah. So Esteban, click and then
And then you'll screen share with him. Is that the way that works?
he'll share.
Oh, okay.
you want me to share? I'm still connecting to the internet.
I'm trying to
Let's see.
connect into
There
it.
we go, there's that.
Okay.
So
Well,
basically on every agenda for every board, not
Right.
just you guys, there's a place in there that says you can go onto the website there.
On this, it says that?
Yeah,
Okay,
so go where it says constituents are encouraged to participate by signing up to speak and or leave a written comment at least an hour before the
Right.
meeting starting time. Follow this link.
right, but on this is what I was saying, is there something that sends me or explains that to, so if I
So-
make that comment, and that's what he's pulling up right now,
So
right?
it's a form and the form will come up and then you fill in your name or whatever you want to fill in, or you fill in John Doe or anonymous if you don't want to be known who you are. And
So the form is gonna come up in this process here, I won't need to do anything else, like find a
it doesn't
link.
look like that. It comes across to us like when I go on there to look at it this way, it'll be like a sheet. So
Okay,
what you see on the other side is a fill form to fill out, like if you were doing anything else, then that hits the website and then,
Okay, I
We
think
get
Esteban's got something
Okay.
up here.
so
So now, you, and maybe it'll show there, but Danette, you're saying if somebody doesn't want to leave a name, there's a place for that, but I see a John,
mhm,
they can also just, I'm
Put
assuming
John
John Doe is not really somebody's
don't
name.
assume.
Okay,
so could you go back before that?
Mr. and Ms. Doe,
For the
apologies,
speak
but
at meeting. Okay, so I go
This is the
down
main agenda
to,
page. So you come down to sign up to speak at meeting.
okay, so that's where that is. And this comment thing is in a different place?
I believe that's the comments that come in.
Yes,
Okay, so
It's just the same person.
there's a comment, it's like sign up or speak. So if I want to sign up,
Let's say you want to.
where do I put that? Where's that?
So let's say we want to speak at the
Meeting,
nuisance abatement hearing.
right?
And I immediately went back.
Want to sign up to speak.
So now this guy. This guy.
sign up to speak
And
and
there's
leave
the-
comment or
there's
just
a fill-in form.
leave comment.
There's
See, that's the form to
Speak.
leave this, okay, so then where's the
There's
place?
another one, if I'll back up again.
Yeah.
One of the other options is sign up to speak and leave comment.
Mhm.
And then this one is leave a comment only.
Now, Stephen, where it says required name and address. Apparently one person, here I go again, knew to put John Doe. But if somebody
Doesn't
wants to be anonymous, they at least have to put the John Doe?
That's, I think, more of a question for Danette.
Oh, okay.
So they can put a name or not put a name, or they can put I've
So
seen it
it's
come
not
across
required?
anonymous. No,
It's
it's
not
not required.
Okay.
It's a required field, but they don't have to put their name.
But
if they
it
want.
says that somewhere, right?
It says required first and last name.
Right, but where does it say you don't have to put your real first and last name?
I think people know that they don't want to put their
Don't
first
assume.
name.
No,
Assume
I
that.
wouldn't assume, I wouldn't,
Yeah, that
I
could be a
would
little
not
intimidating.
assume
That could be a little
that I
intimidating.
can put John Doe. In fact, I would think I couldn't put John Doe because I get in trouble.
Now stop sharing now, if that's okay.
Yeah, Judge Shear, thank you.
Sure thing.
That gives us an idea of what we're talking about and what the public would see if
I'm
they go
still
in.
confused.
You're confused
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
perplexed
am.
about what you saw?
No, yes.
About
Well-
about the name?
Yeah, well, no, just how I discern speak at meeting to comments to, because
So there were, and I don't know if you can put it back up, but there were three categories in that last screen. You could,
speak at
Speak at
meeting, I saw
meeting.
that one.
you could speak and leave comment.
Before that,
Yeah.
before that.
This one, so sign
right
up to
there.
speak.
Yeah,
sign up
but
to
how do
speak
I
and
get
leave
to,
comment.
it says sign up to speak.
Right, this is at the speak at a meeting
Speak at meeting,
page.
so that means I'm gonna speak at meeting. Where is,
So these are the two meetings to select from. So if you, whatever one you would select it, and then you have these three options to select. And depending on which one you select,
okay,
determines which questions come up on the form for you to fill out.
got it. Okay, see, I couldn't see that.
So our meeting is no longer showing because to sign up for
This meeting,
comments
right.
is already done because we're in the.
Plus, it has to be an hour before to access, to utilize. Obviously, if somebody walks in and they're gonna say, you didn't sign up an hour before. So, I mean, you can walk in at any point and probably enjoy, with the permission of the board, the privilege of speaking. But if you go online, that's not gonna be shared
Can you
with
go
us
one back?
unless it's an hour before. Now, I noticed that the comment that was received
Okay.
at 11:23
Mhm.
got through to us, and obviously that's an hour and a half before, so that, I mean, it seems to work.
It takes you to this.
Right. And then you go down from there to the boards and commissions, and then you go sign up or it says view and comment. So that's where it gets separated really quickly, is view and comment on proposed ordinances. But if this is just, I want to sign up and talk about the sheriff, right? Would I sign up at view and comment on proposed ordinances? Because that's where I would comment?
No, it would be if you're speaking of course, at a meeting of the SOARB, you would sign up to speak at a meeting.
Right, but if I was just signing up for like these comments,
It's the same. So you select the meeting,
I say sign up to speak at meeting?
you'll have a choice of meetings. Those are the meetings that are coming up that you could sign up for.
So there was, you gotta go to this screen, you gotta go to
Right.
speak at meeting.
So it says speak at meeting, but I might just want to make a written comment.
Right, so Stephen, if you went to public,
Just make a written comment.
just public comment, would that give the ability? You're at speak, there, right there on the
Yeah.
left.
So this is where I selected a meeting,
Right,
and again, these three options come up. Sign up to
We
speak.
see that, but her concern is this. If I'm looking at this and I say, well, I don't really want to speak at the meeting,
but
I just
wanna
want to leave a public
comment.
comment. And apparently people do that.
Leave comment only. It's the last
Right.
one.
Yeah, we see
Yeah,
that, but we're
but-
talking about, it's at speak at the
The
meeting.
meeting,
So where it says public comment, if you go to that, can you leave a public comment for this meeting? Or for
see,
the,
it says the view and comment on proposed ordinances, but I don't see a view and comment on.
Wait,
Debbie Strong.
that's
go ahead.
because I think you're looking at the review and comment for the Bernalillo County Board of Commissioners. You have to look at the sheriff's board comment section.
So you have to go to the
Something
SOARB,
else.
the
Sheriff's
SOARB page.
office, I'd write, yeah.
So that's where that is, then maybe.
Well, it is also accessible there. We'll go to the main SOARB page.
So there's a public comment. Now, if you go to public
Sign up
comment,
to speak online, or they can call, and I believe that's Danette's telephone number.
Mhm.
So if you sign up to speak online,
Right?
is somebody waiting to get in?
there's the place where if it was timely, we would see the opportunity to select that. So again, this is coming from this page. When you click on sign up to speak online, it brings up this, where if it was timely, the meeting would be there and you would select it. And in this case, it does say to sign up to speak or leave a written comment. And that's what you get when you come from the SOARB page.
And I'm not sure, did that answer it, Elena? If you go to public comment.
I'm gonna walk through that. I'm
Okay.
sure it's better for me to do it that way. And that way, understand
Oh,
better.
okay.
And then I'll come back if I have any concerns.
Yeah, well,
Because I see-
I have the same concern.
Yeah.
If I'm reticent to speak at a meeting, am I going to just turn this thing off as, well, I've got to speak at the meeting, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak.
Rather
The
than
sheriff will
leave the
find out who
comment.
I am and put a chokehold on me, you know.
The good news is that while I see the point, especially coming from the main agenda page, but if you look at the SOARB page itself where it says sign up to speak online, when you click that, it brings up this, which clearly says sign up to speak or leave a written
Right.
comment.
But the other way, it doesn't sound like that's
But there is
public comment piece.
a tab for public comment. So we just need to make sure that people can actually just click that and leave a public comment.
Right,
I assume that to be the case, right? Didn't it?
okay.
Okay,
Again, as soon
Like you
as
said,
do
I'll walk through it and see if
Okay.
I can,
all
put
right.
my little brain to be
And
able to
then
figure it
back
out.
to your original question, Danette, can we compile the stuff that we're getting specific to this item so that people have it in one place? I know you said, well, it gets archived. If you leave a comment, it's,
That's what came in for this meeting.
okay. And so.
So the name has what they want to talk about, it has if it's a comment or if they want to speak, it has their comment, and then it has the time that it came in.
But then one of those in particular is shorted.
Yeah, and it's because when it comes in through that portal,
Right.
when it comes in as an email, which I forwarded to you guys,
Mhm.
you'll see the whole.
Okay.
It's just because I think there's only so many words. They have to cut you off somewhere.
Okay.
But it's on you to provide the board members the full.
And I always, once I receive them, I forward them on.
I got you.
Okay, I mean, that's, Elena's gonna walk through it and, you know, maybe make some suggestions. Let's be sensitive. I really appreciate Kate Collins, isn't it?
Yes.
Bringing that to our attention, that people are having some difficulty getting in to the meeting, and let's be sensitive to that and make sure that we're not thwarting input into our meetings. But we've got several other agenda items to get through, and so let me just.
And Vice Chair has her hand up. Yes.
Okay, Debbie Stronglin, please.
Yeah, sorry to prolong this, but I know in the past, when we have received written comments, we have read them into the record. And that's what I was just asking is I think we got either one or two comments supporting the sheriff's actions at the sporting goods store. And what I wonder is, what do we read those into the record? How do we how do we handle that at this meeting?
Well, they are a part of our record. If you want them read in, we can certainly read them. I don't know that we've developed a specific protocol with respect to that. If you think we need one, we can certainly address that or look back at our policy documents to see, I think I'm correct, though. Mr. Wismer, are you still on? Yeah, he's on. Do you recall anything specific to that? If we get a comment, are we obliged to read it in the record? Michael may be away.
He's muted.
Well,
Yes.
what occurs to me is if part of what our function as a board is to enhance communication between the sheriff's office and the public, then the sheriff's office is not going to know about those comments unless we somehow put them in the record. I don't, that's
Is that
how it would
correct,
seem to me.
Danette? These comments.
They get
went
forwarded to
sheriff?
the sheriff also.
Yeah, I think if they come in, they get forwarded to the sheriff as well. And I know that,
Automatically then,
yeah.
right?
Aside from our process, the sheriff has its own processes to get comments. So the sheriff is getting his own, but he or they are getting those that we get as well as a matter of course.
Okay.
And as far as reading into the record, you could do it one or two ways. You can actually read them into the record, or you can attach them to the minutes as part of your approval.
Oh, I like that one. That's
Yeah.
easier.
So I'm just, yeah, it depends. That's up to you guys. And you can see that if you look
Yeah.
at any of the commissioners' meetings,
Mhm.
it has their minutes and then all these attachments. That's how they get away from sitting there and actually reading document after document after document.
Okay, and Mr. Wismer now has his hand up. Michael?
Yes,
Oh.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There isn't anything in our policy that requires us to do so, but it seems like a good business practice to add them to the minutes, or we could also, if the board so desired, we could make a motion to make sure that the comment is added into the official record. Either way, I think we would be meeting our objective if we got it in the record, either by attaching to the minutes or making a motion.
Is it the pleasure of the board that they be attached to the minutes? It seems appropriate to have any
Yes.
comments specific to a meeting attached to the minutes.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Yes.
That will be the directive of the board unless there's objection.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for that, colleagues. Are we ready then to move on? I don't think that there's any other public comment. And so we'll go to then new
meeting.
business. Item 7A, the meeting.
Okay, so last month we talked about having this community meeting and the date that the sheriff, at least at the time when we were looking at it, was during the day. And I think that was a concern of mine. So I went to a number of colleagues down in that area and asked them what they did. I spoke to Senator Lopez about when they have their community meetings and what time they have their community meetings, and what's been the response to having them at different times. And she made it very clear that they don't have them during the day. They have them usually after 5:30 or 6 o'clock, where people who are working during the day have the opportunity to come. And she says, that's the way we've been doing it for years. So it's been something that people know. I know one of the things that Danette and I kind of hit a little bit was the fact of trying to get a meeting on like a Saturday or a Sunday during that time. And so I was saying to Senator Lopez, here was, one of the reasons we ended up in that particular time frame. She says, give me a little bit, and called, I don't know, about an hour later and said, okay, you could have a meeting. I spoke to them at the Southwest Center that we were going to originally have it. And she says, we can schedule it from September 16th, which is a Saturday, from 10 to 12. And that she's, put it under her name and she can do, that. And then let all of her constituency that she supports know that that is happening as well, which I think is a great idea to get, a senator, state senator to actively participate in the community center meetings and to tap into her constituents. And she said she would let everybody know to tap into their constituents if we wanted to go ahead and make this time. But she said she definitely recommended that what they have had the most success with is either doing it on a Saturday or Sunday or after 6 o'clock. And so we do have a space currently reserved just because we wanted to hold that space. But I wanted to check with you all prior to us sending anything to the sheriff and requesting his presence.
Yeah, and the sheriff, I think, made inquiry in one of the communications about the September meeting.
He did.
So we definitely, need to decide what we're gonna do for the September meeting.
So if we want the September 6th through the from 10 a.m. to 12, great. And then the next step would be to see if it's open on the sheriff's calendar.
Okay, and that's the Saturday?
Yes, that's the Saturday, September 16th.
Okay, so here's my dilemma, and I don't need any staff input on this, please. I don't think we're in a position to obligate the staff.
Right.
And I don't want them to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what we wind up doing then is calling this a listening session or whatever, and looking to Daniel to see what the parameters of that might be for us, whether, if we give notice that we're meeting for listening, without staff, and merely record the commentary that we get, are we all right?
Yes, as long as
Do we have to publish an agenda?
You would. I'm a little confused. I thought we had there's some ongoing items, the sheriff's incident, the taser incident. I'm assuming you would talk about those in that meeting because I thought they were tabled today. You can do it. As the chair says, it can be done. There may be issues with some of the staff. And you may have, I don't know if you'll have full IT. That's another issue. As you're aware, this room has never been the best with IT.
I bet we could meet that.
And if that were to occur there, I'm pretty confident we wouldn't have any help.
Right.
But as the chair says, if it's just a listening session or a session with the understanding that there may not be online.
I can find out. Yeah.
It can happen.
Yeah, that's right, because I was thinking it more of a separate meeting than our board meeting piece. That's, so I don't know if we want to make it a separate meeting so that it's just a listening session, or we want to make it our board meeting and the listening session. Did you get it, please?
I did not.
I'm just wondering if we're in a position to conduct business around these other issues that I said if we do that, that it troubles me, not to have Danette directing traffic for us.
Judge, I'm not opposed to doing two things. One, have our typical board meeting like we're doing here, and then have a listening session. Okay. I think those are great ideas.
So maybe the board meeting on the Friday and the listening session on the Saturday?
Yeah, it's primarily we'd be in receive mode.
And we could certainly let all the people who are doing public comment know that we will actually be live and in person on the 16th. And that way, if they want to comment further or they want to just bring their comments at that point in time, they have that option.
Right, because, in a meeting, we're not resolving any issues.
Right.
They say, well, this happened to me. Well, okay, thanks. We'll take that information.
Right.
But we're not going to resolve it.
No,
there, so.
it's a listening session, and anybody who believes that they want to comment on the sheriff's department or policies, procedure, protocols, whatever, we just take it down, listen to them, and
you're going to
then
get Senator Lopez.
right, and Senator Lopez has offered to be there as well. So what she does and how she
That's win-win. We can proceed without a quorum. We don't have members, isn't that right?
Correct. As long as it's advertised, I mean, if
As a
it's on the
listening
website,
Yeah.
anytime today or going forward, a week, I think a week before is generally the county standard,
Mhm.
it can be done.
Okay.
Fantastic.
It's advertised as not a meeting.
Right, so
as-
it's a
Right.
listening session.
Listening session. Right, and we're not resolving anything, we're listening, and then it doesn't say that we can't follow up with something that, a concern and bring it into our
Our
board
next
meeting,
meeting.
yeah.
then
But
the
for
next
right now, it just would be one of taking note, honoring the voice, and, you know, and then whatever Linda wants to do, can do, you
Mhm.
know. But yeah,
Yeah, no decision making.
right,
So let's see if we can proceed to make that happen. So we've got the meeting on the 15th. Do we move that back here, Danette, or shall we? Do we have that facility for the 15th meeting as well
No.
as?
well, we haven't canceled it, so, I mean, we could.
So we could actually do the 15th here.
Judge, not to be special here, but the 15th, I'll be coming back from Texas. So I'm not going to be physically at the meeting.
Not a problem.
So. But this,
Yeah, but for
the Dick's
discussion
Sporting
of
Goods.
the issue,
yeah,
it would be good to have you. So
You also have your regular scheduled meeting will be, it's the second Friday in the month.
I think we've already advertised it for the 15th. Have we not?
No, I don't think.
It's
we
just
have yet.
tentative?
Yeah, it's just tentative.
It's the 8th.
The 8th
It's
September
when
8th.
you,
Oh,
the regular
right.
meeting should end. And we haven't advertised anything.
Yeah, for the
We just
15th at all, yeah.
discussed
Oh,
tentatively.
okay.
Yeah, because we were waiting to see, I was waiting to see, to get feedback on the community that lives in that area, what they would recommend.
So is it the pleasure of the board that we meet on our regularly scheduled day of September 8th and then have this listening session on the 16th?
Yes.
You're gonna be there on the 8th?
yes.
Okay. Yeah. I would agree with that,
Okay.
September 8th and then September 16th. So what I will do is I will notify Linda, who will notify the South Valley Multi-Purpose Center. And then we'll put everybody in the loop, and then I'll put you as primary loopy.
And then that'll also give you on your 8th meeting to discuss your listening session and.
Right. Mhm.
wrap
Good
it up
idea.
and
I was
be
gonna
ready
say,
for-
I want to be primary loopy, but that's all right. I think I'm already loopy
You're
enough.
second loopy.
As odd as she picked her groupie, and usually groupies pick you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's a big difference between loopy and groupie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, so I think we're clear then.
Mm-hmm.
September regular meeting, September 8th. Listening session, September 16th at the South Valley
Valley Multi-Purpose Center.
Multicultural Center, it says here. Is that right?
It could be multicultural.
It's
yeah.
multi-purpose, okay.
And that's from
Anyway,
10
we're
a.m.
talking
to
about the
12.
same
Yes.
facility
Mhm.
and
On
people will know.
Larizola Southwest.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
And so we had some sub-items there. Is it necessary to go into that? I think
I
focal
think
point
Jeanette and I,
of the agenda is just listening.
right.
Advertisement, that'll be taken care of, Elena, or do we need to discuss that?
We can certainly announce it through all of, like I said, her constituents and put it on the public thing. And is there somewhere else you would like us? And I'm sure it'll go up to the center itself and they'll advertise it on their site. So, do you recommend any place else that we should?
We can certainly, I think, send a news release on behalf
Oh,
of
that'd
the
be great.
board.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Announcing that this meeting, sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Do some
Okay.
And
social media.
Elena, I don't know what the regulation is around it, but if you want to be involved in some of that publicity.
Okay, yeah.
That would be great too.
If you need to, without the expert over here.
Take your sunglasses off.
I know, really, so you don't see the reporter going.
So do we need I need to contact the sheriff's executive assistant for his
Yes.
availability? If he's not available, are you moving forward and just see if any of the undersheriffs are available?
Yeah, I
For the
would think,
16th, yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
it would be
Okay.
great to have him there, but if he can't be for this time.
Or is that's okay, or do you think it's?
I think it's fine,
prohibits?
especially if we have
Right.
any of these people, the undersheriffs are, I mean, they're great,
Okay.
you know, to take that because again, they're not speaking for the sheriff. They're just taking that information, being present and, you know, saying if there was a concern, it's something that we would take up at our meeting, you know, for next time, so.
Sounds great.
And I may be stating the obvious, but we need the sheriff here on the 8th.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
That will go out to see if he will be there. I will do both dates with his executive secretary.
Thank
to
you.
see.
Okay. Updates from any SOARB subcommittees? Madam Vice Chair, why don't you go ahead and tell them that you and I at least met on the report and where we are on annual report?
Well, yesterday we talked about how we hadn't met. So that was kind of the extent of our discussion. Not to make light of it, but you know, that's what we talked about. But Elena did send me some comments, and for some reason, Elena, I sent you an email. I can't open the document, and I can't. Well, I was finally able to open it yesterday, but I couldn't forward it. Not to myself, not to anybody. I don't know why. So maybe you could send that
Yeah,
out.
resend it. You got it.
The members of the committee, but I guess Diane Layden informed me that she's going to have to resign from the not from the board, but from the annual report subcommittee because of her caretaking obligations. So, you know, Tommy and I talked about maybe Jim Stewart, who has stepped up and said he's willing to join that subcommittee instead. So,
You know, Debbie, it occurs to me, and I hate to take care of committee business, but I'd sure like to visit with the county manager and I don't know, maybe a commissioner or two to get some feedback. You know, it seems to me we're giving a volume and of paper information that may not be read, that may not be necessary. I know we did kind of an executive summary this last time and had everything appended. I'm just wondering if they're laboring with the breadth of what we're sending, and we are therefore laboring needlessly to give them that detail.
you know, I can certainly say that when I guess 3 of us were at the meeting with the county commission after the report had been officially presented to the commission, and then they did have a chance to read it. And it really seemed that they had read it, you know, all of it. So
maybe
you know,
my concern is amiss. Maybe it's fine. But I didn't.
I don't know. I think it's worth posing the question, but I also think that, you know, the way I was kind of envisioning the annual report this year is it's probably going to be quite a bit shorter.
Yeah.
You know, there just don't seem to be as many issues at present anyway, as there were in the last 2 years.
And I went back and looked at the ordinance and certainly nothing there suggests to me that it's necessary that it, you know, be voluminous.
No, it's more that, you know, I think things like the ordinance need to be attached to the report. You know, there are just certain documents that we refer to, like the multi-agency task force and so on. If we're going to comment on it, and we have, then it seemed to me anyway that it was necessary to include it.
It's right there for reference. And I guess if we're putting it on a jump drive or whatever for the commissioners, it's like, well, wait a minute, are they supposed to be, you know, taking public comment? Oh, yeah, it says right there in the ordinance, public comment. Yeah, so I get that. That sounds good.
Maybe if we're citing newspaper articles, I guess we could. I don't particularly know how to do it, but you know, there's a way to do it that if you have it on an, you know, online, you can click on a link and go to it. But it also seems easier, just if we're going to refer to an article, to also attach that. So we, I mean, as a
So that's
subcommittee, we
committee
can
business
talk about
probably,
that.
and
Yeah.
I apologize for the disruption, but it occurred to me, man, that's a volume of paper we're putting out annually. So.
Right, well, it's 20 pages of report and, you know, however, like 80 pages of
Yeah.
attached stuff. So we could certainly cut that down. I
Okay.
have confidence in us to cut that down.
Mhm. And for me, I think it was important, like Debbie said, that it seemed like after the kind of first take of, oh, thank you for your report, they really seemed to, you know, take a look at what that was. And I had a number of people who seemed to be interested, just like community of underserved, to say, oh, yeah, so there really was somebody looking at that issue, and there really was, nothing happened, but it was nice to know that we as a board brought it up, had comment on it, regardless of how it was being internalized by the sheriff's department. We were at least looking at those issues, and I think our responsibility to the public is exactly that. You know, regardless of someone actually moving on something that we may make a recommendation, but so far, this sheriff has gone through actually the report, which says the value of it. He went through point by point to see what he could do and how he would do it better. And so that in itself had a lot of value.
Okay, Debbie, something else?
But no, I just think also the ordinance also says that part of our responsibility is to give advice to the public. So
Right.
this report is, you know, it's not just for the commissioners and the sheriff's office. And so maybe because of that, we have, you know, we have to think about attaching more rather than less, just so people have access to the things we're referring to.
It occurred to me when Jim was having the discussion about the business security collective. You know, maybe that's a recommendation to the business community that,
Great.
and I'm not sure I was intelligent enough to catch all of that. You know, they seem to say, well, it's state law, it's statute. And I'm not sure it is. It just seems to me to be culture at this point. So, you know, there's an area where the public may definitely need some advice from us, because I think, and you know, we're leaving on the sheriff's deal for future meetings, but there's a lot of tension around that. You see in the news people stealing bottles of liquor and the shopkeeper saying, well, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It frustrates all of us. You know, the price of liquor's going up. So, you
And
know,
that concerns you, right?
Elena, you were so.
So anyway, I hear you, Madam Vice Chair, and this may be, and I don't know if I don't think we've done it before, but this may be a year where we have not only recommendations to the commission and the sheriff, but also to the public.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
All right, so I've probably,
Digress.
yeah, I digressed, okay. So, any other updates from subcommittees? We got this card, Diane Delsal gave us this card. Can you publish that to the folk that were on the Microsoft Teams, Danette?
What do you mean?
I guess it's just scan it and send it to them, because I can't hand them one like she handed these for us. But I mean, we can keep this and make it available to them.
Oh, are you talking to?
What, Michael Wismer, Joseph Lopez, Diane. So they don't have one of these, and we have several for them. So that's all I'm saying. And the purpose of this is the card that goes to the deputies that has resources as they encounter people who are in need of this type of help. So I wanted to mention that about the subcommittee update. That's kind of that social. Yes, Debbie.
Just, back to the annual report. I had put in as a tentative topic and only, for discussion, because I don't personally think this topic should appear in the annual report, but I think it was Diane Layden thought, I believe she thought it should. And that's the issue of the memorial wall, which the very charged and emotional issue of the symbolism on that wall at the sheriff's office. And we had specifically said we weren't making any recommendations or requests about that. We were simply passing on that the comment had been made. And so I don't know that it's appropriate to include that in the annual report, but I'd like to know how other people feel about that. And I don't think that's only a matter for the subcommittee. I think it's, of general concern to the board.
Well, we can certainly make it an agenda item.
Okay.
Or it can, not appear and somebody can be bothered by its absence and say,
Right.
We need to have a discussion about this being in the annual meeting. So those are two ways that can get handled.
Okay.
But if you want that issue specifically on an agenda item, hey, how do folks feel about the issue of the wall in the sheriff's office? That can be an agenda item.
Okay. We can
Is
put
that your
that.
pleasure? Should we put it on the agenda?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to, even bring additional attention to it, but I don't know how else to raise it.
We can rule it
before
out.
the board.
If people don't have heartburn that it's not in the report, then it won't be there. If they do, then, somebody can take on the writing of what ought to be there and we can vote on it.
Yeah, that'll stall it.
Yeah.
Okay. I like
Any other
that
subcommittee
approach.
business that we need to be aware of, though?
Yeah.
Nothing on policy.
Okay. We know that the next board meeting then is September 8th, that it'll be here. Any further business to come before the SOARB? Hearing none, are you ready to adjourn?
So move.
It's been moved.
Yes.
Is there a second? There's a second.
Second,
All right.
whoever.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Yay.
Very patient.
Good weekend,
That's a good one.
everybody.
You too.
Bye, enjoy.
Bye.